Sean Battlecry, Liz, David, Royal Nomi, Tech Jeeper, and whoever else is there that hasn't left a comment yet. Welcome to Hot Makes. I'm Caleb. Jim is not going to be here tonight. He decided to quit the show. He's no longer... No, I'm kidding. Tristan, his toddler, is sick, and as you would expect with sick toddlers, they need some attention. They need taken care of. So he called me before we were going to... Can I? Nope, I can't do that. He called me before 5 o'clock, 5:30ish, and was like, hey, do you mind? And I'm like, if it's a guest that he brought on that I don't know very well, then yeah, I kind of wish he was here. But you know what? I know Alex. I've hung out with him extensively at previous events, and I feel totally comfortable talking with Alex on my own. And I hope he doesn't make me regret that. So we'll pull him in here in just a second, real quick. The typical top of the show stuff. First off, what are you guys drinking? What do you got? I got some coffee here in my favorite mug, which is a handmade mug from a coffee shop called Think Coffee up in Conway, Arkansas. Typically I've got coffee. Liz has cold water. David Wilson, coffee, my guy. Homemade mocha and water. Okay, so keep those drinks coming. Top of the show, house cleaning stuff. There's a link in the description of this video for all of the hot makes we talk about today, as well as previous episodes. If you want to go back and see, if you aren't sure if yours was shown in an episode at one point, you can go back and check previous the old ones, the past ones. This is awkward. I'm really bad about filling space when Jim isn't here. If you enjoy the show, consider donating to the show's Oreo fund, which basically just means, we don't spend it on Oreos. It goes to our Google. Oh, there's the cat. It goes to our Google workspace and our website domain, that kind of stuff. And goes back into the audience, goes back into the community when we have our bigger episodes like Christmas episodes and stuff, and where we do giveaways. Oftentimes, companies will be a part of those giveaways, but if we want to give away extra stuff or personal stuff, or we just want to add to that pool, we've got what people have donated over the years. So there's that. So if you want to do that, just include the term hot makes in a note to the PayPal link that's in the description below. We also have super chats and such you can throw in the chat below, but YouTube takes like an ungodly amount of that, so do it if you want to. But as usual, the show is always open for sponsorship spots too. Okay, done talking about money. Make sure you're watching and subscribed over on the main Hot Makes channel. Nightbot should be posting that in the chat. If it's not, I'm terrible at noticing. I'm terrible at not noticing if more coffee in the chat. Sorry, I'm totally distracted by all the coffees. But yeah, I'm terrible at not noticing if Nightbot is working or not. So if you guys don't see Nightbot, make me aware of that. Okay, so without further ado, since Jim isn't here and I feel awkward being close up on my face, we're gonna go ahead and pull in Alex. Alex, are you ready? Give me a thumbs up if you are. And boom,
hello.
Ladies and gentlemen, Alex from Canadian
Filaments. Thank you so much for having me on the show. I'm very excited. This has been in the works for a very long time.
It has been, and I know you're the founder of Canadian Filaments, but are you also considered the CEO?
Yeah, as a one-man operation, I wear a mini.
Well, I didn't know you do well. I didn't know you were a one-man operation. So you do a good job on social media and on your website and stuff of making it look like you've got maybe some employees, or it seems like you got a lot going on.
It's Canadian Filaments is in a really weird position where it's quite large for a 3D printing company, but it's also incredibly tiny.
Yeah.
Like there's not very many companies. I actually don't think there is another company that exists that is at my size that is still just a one-man operation. But here I am. It is not by choice, unfortunately. It's mostly because we're bootstrapped. It's bootstrapped, and I'm the only employee that I can abuse.
Liz says she's ashamed to be a Canadian who hasn't tried Canadian Filaments. So Liz needs to fix that, is what I'm hearing.
Oh, big restock coming this week.
So before we get too far, I do have some questions based on what you just said. And if anybody else has questions for Alex while we're chatting, go ahead and throw them in the chat and I'll star them. We'll come back to them later. But before we get too far, if anybody here doesn't know who you are, can you just tell us who you are, what you do, and where people can find you?
Yeah, for sure. Hello, my name is Alex. I'm the owner, CEO, everyone of CanadianFilaments.ca, which is a filament manufacturing company based here in Edmonton, Alberta. We're also the only manufacturer of filament in all of Alberta and one of the very few manufacturers in all of Canada. I think you can probably count on like one hand the amount of people who do this currently in Canada. So it's a pretty small niche thing to pick up.
So it worked out really well to just call it Canadian Filaments.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's like saying well, I don't know, I can't think of an example. But calling it Canadian Filaments, you know, when you're in a country where there's only a few other filament manufacturers, it kind of makes it, you know, when you first got started, do you feel like that kind of helped you out?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I rank
Somebody's
really,
gonna search for
really
Filament
high.
Canada,
Yeah.
you know?
I rank really, really high on Google, and I have spent like $60 on Google ad spend. So I don't know very many people who can say they rank so high in like
That's fantastic.
such like a niche intense topic without spending any like loads of ungodly amounts of money on Google AdSense.
You basically named your company the keywords.
Exactly, I'm the keyword. I couldn't even believe that the domain was available. I bought the domain for $12. I'm not even joking.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. I expected TechJeeper says I expected a plot twist where we found out they're out of Florida. Canadian Filament. Can you imagine if Canadian Filaments was based out of the US somewhere? Okay, so you and I met, I think, for the first time at the Rocky Mountain Rep Rap Festival earlier this year.
That was last year.
That was last year. And did I see you at the festival this year? I can't remember.
Which no, I was not at the festival this year because I decided I wanted to go to Rapid.
A year ago, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I went to Rapid this year, and then we hung out at Rapid.
Yeah. So I have this bad habit of, you know, I'll meet people and I'll talk with them for a little bit, but if it's a big event, I'm really bad at remembering like who the people are, what they talked about. If there's like 50 or so like new people that I'm like, oh, you're instantly a new friend over the weekend. Despite calling them a new friend, I will meet them at another event later and I'll be like, I know you. What do you do? And I was guilty of that with you when I ran into you at Rapid. You know, we were actually we were at the get together, Joel's get together at the saloon, Tony's saloon. I still have my little.
That was a great party.
Still have this. I found it in my pants.
You didn't even redeem that?
Home. Huh?
You didn't even redeem that?
So I somehow ended up with mine and Sam's. I know we were only supposed to use one each, but I've used two, and then I found this in my pants later. I know I drank a lot that night, but I don't know whose this was. Anyway, we were just standing there, and I don't know if you walked up to me to chat or if we were just standing in close proximity, but we just started chatting again, and I was like, that's right, you're the Canadian Filaments guy, and you were even wearing it on your chest, and I was just... There were a lot of people. My social radar was pinging, but and then you were like, oh, did you know that Frankie Polito was over here? And I was like, no way. And you were very, very kind. You were like, I just met him, bring me over here and introduce me to him. And you know, and then we ended up meeting up at the same time at his shop when we were running around. That picture that we showed, you know, of going to hang out at his shop, you were in that picture because you were there with us, and that was awesome. And you were kind enough to give us a ride from there to the
Creality event.
Yeah, to the Creality event. Yeah. And you know, I had plenty of time to hang out with you, and I was like, dude, we've got to get you on the show at some point because I don't know much about Canadian Filaments. So, and you, when I brought it up too, you were like excited. You were
oh yeah.
Yeah, you were like,
it's
oh, I
a
can't
good
wait.
story.
I can't wait to talk to somebody, or not specifically about the show, but when I mentioned maybe telling the story of how Canadian Filaments got started, that's when you were like, I can't wait to tell that story. So
It's a
after all
fantastic
this
story.
time, drum roll, please. Can you please bestow upon us the story of how Canadian Filaments got started?
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, for all intents and purposes, if I'm being 100% honest, Canadian Filaments should not exist anymore. Like, it is a miracle that it is still operating, going strong. Just like everything that could have went wrong, literally went wrong.
Okay.
And it's such an actually like crazy story. Because I started this company when I was 22 years old,
Do you
and
mind if I
that
ask
was
how old you are now?
I'm 26 now.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was a big leap, but I
That's
don't
a
want to go
young
like
age to start something.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how far back I really want to go, but basically the shortest story is that I started a 3D printing company in like my parents' basement when I was like 19 years old. And then when I was 21, I moved that into a commercial space. It was a tiny commercial space. It was like 280 square feet, like real small, but it was a commercial space. And I was real proud of it. And I ran that not successfully for a couple months until COVID hit. And everyone was like, oh, small businesses are going to suffer. Small businesses are going to go under, yada.
Oh, so you were kind of getting
like,
started as that was hitting?
Yeah, basically,
no.
I was doing it for, I think it was like 8 months into that commercial space when COVID hit. So I thought it was like game over, like I was like, oh,
you
I
had
guess
the benefit though of working on your own. So just going to work in general is social distancing yourself, So
yeah, exactly. Because the thing was that I was actually working, like I was bartending at the time. So I was bartending at night, and the bartending was actually paying the bills for me to work a day job doing what I love.
Mhm.
And so I was doing that until COVID hit. And then I thought it was going to go under. I was like, there's no way I could survive that, until all of a sudden 3D printing took off like crazy. And I happened to be like one of the only people in my entire city operating a 3D printing on demand company that was that had so much like available time and printer space. And so I made a lot of money very quickly until the filament supply ran out. And then I got really annoyed because I had something that was like I was trying to make successful, and it became successful, and then it died real quickly.
What? So you started a filament company as a result of not having enough filament for the printing business you were starting.
Exactly. And then I was like,
I'm going to make my own.
You know what? How hard could it be? How hard could it be to make filament? I looked all over. There was no one in Canada really doing it at the time. So I was like, how hard could it be? Turns out it was really hard. But we sorted it out. I sorted it out basically.
So
sorry. Incredible difficulty and tribulations and yada yada. And that's where the fun part of the story starts.
Okay.
Yeah. So basically, to start that company, I just literally went on Alibaba and I searched up filament extruder, and I found one. And then I basically raised as much money as I possibly could, which was basically taking out as much loans as I could as a 22-year-old. I had actually dropped out of university.
Terrifying.
Exactly. And I pulled out my entire university fund that my parents had for me.
Oh,
and I put that all in. So there was like no going back. And I ended up raising roughly around, I think it was like $140,000 I had. And I wired 70,000 of it to a bank account in Singapore to buy this machine that I had no idea how to set it up, how to use, or how to make filament.
I don't know. Like, we're just going. The idea of borrowing that much money from multiple sources, or sending it to a bank account in Singapore, not really knowing what's going to happen.
Exactly. And that was in.
My heart is racing, and I'm not even like. I didn't even go.
We're just getting started. We are just getting started here. So that was in November 2020.
Fix Some Dude says YOLO.
YOLO, exactly. Literally, exactly. And I was fairly the only way I thought I could do it is just like sheer confidence, because I've been 3D printing since I was like 14 years old. I decided ATM was going to do it for a living. So I was like, this is what I want to do. I'm going to do whatever it takes to just like figure it out. So I wired the money in November 2020, and then October 2020, they finished manufacturing my line and they were ready to ship it to me. But they said, we can't ship it to you. I'm like, why not? And they go, because you don't have a commercial address. Like, we can't ship a container. It was an entire container. Everything I needed to start this company was in one shipping container, and they wouldn't ship it to me because I didn't have like a proper like business address at the time. Like a proper business address. So
I don't know if you this is sorry to interrupt, but I have to this. Are you familiar with I forget his YouTube channel name, but his name is Caleb, which is kind of why I like my ears perked up when I found him. But he decided to start a candy company called Sour Boys. Are you familiar with this guy?
No, I have not heard of Sour Boys.
Okay.
No.
I'll send you a link to the video at some point if you've gone over the stress of all this and you feel like you're fine now. This guy, he released multiple videos in a row that were really long, telling the story about how he had his passion to start a candy company, and he ended up being screwed where he had engineers that were, like you said, he ordered the machinery. The machinery had to be custom built, as you know, industrial machinery oftentimes does, for a specific purpose in a specific location. And he was out hundreds of thousands of dollars and never got it delivered. The guy ghosted him and all this stuff. It was this whole horror story. And as soon as you said, I was sending the money somewhere, I didn't know where it was going. They had to build the equipment. You know, I was waiting for it. They couldn't ship it to me. I'm over here I'm sweating, dude.
Oh yeah. I definitely got to watch that. I want to make a video like that, explaining everything, but this will be my first time ever actually publicly telling like the whole story.
I love this.
But
I'm already inspired by the story too, so please.
Where were we? Oh yeah. So I paid for the machine, and they told me they couldn't ship it to me because I didn't have like a proper business address at the time. And so at 22 years old, I was like, well, here's the thing: is that the machine is 47 feet long, and it needs to be on its own 100 amp circuit. So not only do I need like a massive shop that is like incredibly long, but also has tons of like power capacity. So I look all around the entire city, and I end up finding like one space that actually fits everything that I need. And it's about a 5,000 square foot facility that actually the owners of it are an electrical company. So they were down for the complexities of the electrical project that was about to go down in here. I was like, this is perfect. This is way bigger than I wanted. Because 5,000, going from 280 square feet to 5,000 is like an insane jump. But I was like, all right,
yes,
let's do this. They did not trust me, because of course not. I was, again, like, imagine a 22-year-old coming up to be like, hello, I'd like to rent your 5,000 square foot commercial space on a 3-year lease that's going to run me about $250,000 for a company that's never made a dime of revenue. Ooh. Terrible idea. I cannot believe they said yes to that. But I did have to basically sign a personal guarantee. I was personally guaranteeing that I'd pay the rent, like $250,000 worth of rent on this building, for a company that had never made a single dollar, and I had no idea how to make it.
Have you even made any filament?
No, I didn't even have the equipment.
You're getting everything together to make filament.
Oh yeah, exactly. So, because that was the problem is that they wouldn't ship the machine to me until I had an actual like commercial space they could ship it to, because it's a full container. And I was like, all right, how long is it going to take for the container to get here? And they're like, it's going to take 45 days. So once you sign the lease, we can ship it to you, and it's going to get you in December 2020. I'm like, all right. They say like it's going to be here before New Year's. I'm like, okay, you know what? I can afford rent on this building for 45 days before the machine shows up, and I have a way to make revenue. You know, like that's all right. It's in the budget. I can definitely afford that. So I signed the lease.
Was that all you were able to afford at that time, though?
I could afford a little bit more, but of course, with everything that I had,
if there was any issue with the machine or something like that, you know, it's not like you had, okay, I've got rent paid for the next 6 months. Let's get this figured out. It was like, no, I basically have 2 months to.
Well, I think it was 140,000, and I just spent 70 of it on the machine. So I had about $70,000 left And I paid all like the entrance, like the down payments and everything to move in, the first month's rent and whatnot. And I still had, I'd say about like, I had like $50,000 left.
Mm-hmm.
So I signed the lease. I move into the building in November 2020, expecting for this machine to show up in December. And I just kind of hang out for a month. Like I get everything else prepped. December comes, Christmas, New Year's, the machine doesn't show up. I have no information. I have nothing on it. So I call up China and I'm like, hey guys,
this sounds like the Sour Boys situation.
Where's my machine? You know, it's been 45 days. Like I haven't heard any information on there. And they go, oh, we don't know where your machine is. We actually lost your container. Also, it's Chinese New Year, so we're all going to be on vacation for 2 weeks. And they hang up on me. Those were the most stressful 2 weeks of my entire life. Because I just realized
they just went no communication for 2 weeks.
Oh yeah, because New Year's is like it's really big in China. Everyone takes on vacations. You just basically cannot reach anyone for 2 weeks in that period of China. So they just told me that my container is missing and they're going on vacation for 2 weeks. Those were the two most stressful weeks of my entire life. My hairline used to be like here. And then it went all the way back up there. Yeah, exactly. And just hear nothing. So they get back, and so I'm like losing my mind at this point. And I'm like contacting every single person I possibly can, trying to figure out where my container is. Like I'm pissing off basically everybody because I'm just like calling people. Like I was calling like Canadian trade offices in China, and then I was getting people to do like factory inspections to make sure the factory was real and like all of this stuff to try and figure out where this container is. And I get a phone call in March 2021, and they go, hi, is this Canadian Filaments? I'm like, yeah, this is Canadian Filaments here. What can I do for you? And he's like, we have a container here under the name of Canadian Filaments. Is that you? And I'm like, yeah, like, you know where my container is? And he's like, yeah, we have this container. We can get it delivered to you on April 1st, April Fool's Day. But I've been pissing so many people off for 3 months. My first response was, is this some kind of joke? Like, is this kind of joke? Yeah. Which was followed by a big long pause of silence, because I just basically upset the only guy who actually knew where my container was at the time. Turns out it wasn't a joke. They had just finally magically found the container, and it was arriving in.
Are we talking like a shipping container? Like what's on the back of an 18-wheeler?
I don't know. It was still on the boat when they called me, basically.
Oh my God. I don't know how
so they just found this container on the boat with my business name and my phone number, and they gave me a call. And they're like, it's going to get here on April 1st. I'm like, fantastic. We sorted out. I apologize to the gentleman. It gets here, immediately gets seized by Canadian Customs, because, of course, that's exactly what I need when I'm already so many months behind. Canadian Customs says they're going to hold it for 3 weeks. They actually released it 3 days early. But they moved it from Canadian Customs and they put it on the port, and they didn't tell anyone. And so when my truck came to come pick it up, they go, hey, your container's been sitting here for 3 days. You owe us rent for the space it was taking up for 3 days. And I was like, how much is that? And they go, it's $1,000 a day, $3,000. So I'm getting like hustled right now, basically.
It almost sounds like that was intentional.
Exactly. So I'm getting like hustled at this point. But what can you do? And they also tell me that every single day that I don't pay, I owe them 1% interest on that $3,000. It was ridiculous. Like I'm just getting straight hustled at this point. But I'm like, well, there's nothing I can do. So I just pay the shipping container guys like $3,000 to release my container so I can finally get it here. So it finally gets.
That's how like it's. I know it wasn't necessarily a scam, but that's how like scams and stuff like that get you. It's like
exactly.
I don't have a choice. What am I going to do? I guess I'll just pay it and get it over with.
Like I'd already been sitting without a way to make money for almost 5 months at this point. And so $3,000 to solve that problem, whatever, take it. So the container gets in, and I pull everything out of the container. I kind of line it all up, and I bring an electrician in to come look at it, talk about getting it set up. And he takes one look at this thing and he goes, I can't touch this. I'm like, what do you mean you can't touch this? And he goes, it's not CWA approved, like Canadian, it's not up to Canadian electrical standard code, which means no electrician can legally touch it. And I'm like, what do I do about it? I've never heard about this before. This is something I was not expecting. And I'm like, well, what do I do about that? It was like, well, you need to get it approved by the Canadian, like, Standards of Electricity Board or whatever it was. And I'm like, well, who do I call for that? So he gives me a number. I call this guy and I pay this guy $1,500 to come to my shop to look at this line. And he comes here with a clipboard and he just shakes his head for 3 hours writing stuff down.
No.
And I'm sitting in the corner of my shop, just like facing my hands at this point, like, oh, what? Like this is terrible. He ends up handing me 13 pages of illegal stuff on this machine.
What?
Because Canada has
like together in China. Were they aware that? I mean, I'm assuming they were aware that it was going to the U.S. Did they say that there was going to be any issue?
Apparently, it is up to U.S. standards of electrical.
Sorry, not U.S., Canada.
Yeah. So they.
Okay, I was about to say this can't be the only time that they've had to deal with that, but I mean, it's probably only one of like maybe two, if that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they did send me that, and I guess they sent me it, and I ran into all these problems. They just wouldn't certify it. So I'm like, well, what do I have to do? He's like, well, you have to hire an engineering company to come here and fix all these problems. I'm like, great. So he gives me the number for this engineering company. I call them up. I have them come in and take a look at it, and they're like, well, we need to get the wiring diagram for this machine so that we can fix all the problems with it. And so I call up China again.
Chinese company.
Exactly. So I call up China again. I'm like, hey, your machine has all of these problems. It's not legal for me to run here in Canada. I need you to send me the wiring diagram for it so I can fix it. And they go, no, that's our intellectual property, and they hang up. I'm like, fantastic. So I have to hire this engineering company to basically draw the wiring diagram of this entire machine by hand. We draw it all. We rip all of the electrical out of it, and then we replace it all. And that takes about a month and a half and cost me $27,000.
Oh my God, dude.
But the line is here. It is so far behind, so over budget, but it is here. I then call up China again because there is no instruction manual for this machine. You're actually supposed to hire someone from the factory in China to come to Canada and show you how it works. But it is sometime 2021 at this point. So I called China and I'm like, hey, send over an engineer to show me how this thing works. And they go, we can't, we're still in the middle of COVID. We can't send an engineer from China to Canada. And they hang up on them. Great. They're like, here's how you turn it to English. Figure it out. So,
not to mention the fact that you've gutted the thing. You know?
Exactly.
So even if they send an engineer out, he'd probably just look at it and be like, oh,
it's still basically the same machine, but we had to rip out all of the stuff that wasn't like CSA approved and replace it with the exact same CSA approved parts. So that's basically what we had to do. So I couldn't get the engineer in from China. So they just told me how to turn the machine to English, and it takes me 3 months to figure out how to actually make filament with this thing. Like we're talking like figuring out the correct temperatures, figuring out how to even boot it up properly, like what I have to do, getting like my speeds, my pulls, like to get the diameter to not be just absolute garbage.
Yeah.
And at this point,
like over a year at this point, like the first time you flip this machine off or flip it on.
Yeah. So at this point, when I finally figure out how to make good filament, it is now October 2021. So I've almost paid an entire year's worth of rent in this building.
Oh.
Plus, way over budget. I was supposed to have I was supposed to start with like a lineup of like 15 to 20 colors of material and a full storefront and a marketing campaign. Like that's what I was supposed to have for Canadian Filaments. But we're so far over budget that I'm launching a year behind schedule with 5 colors and no storefront and no marketing. But I'm like, hey, I've seen the baseball movie, build it and they will come. Like I believe I believe in this company. So I launch it in October 2021 and I make $1,000 in my first month.
That's not
good. When you consider it cost me like $140,000 to get the launch. Yeah. And so I'm like, oh, I'm screwed. Like there's just no way out of this. I had about $10,000 left. I remember this. I had about $10,000 left. And I was like, that's like enough to make it like 2 months.
Yeah.
Like I was like, that's like, I'm so cooked. Like I was like, there's no way I could possibly ever recover from this. However, I'm not even joking. Near the end of October 2021, I get a notification from TikTok. It says, "Congratulations, you just hit 1,000 followers. You can now live stream."
Okay.
And
Okay.
I wonder if anyone would care about what I'm doing here. So I prop my phone up against a cardboard box. I hit live stream for the first time I've ever done a live stream in my entire life. I have like 1,004 followers on TikTok, and 38,000 people turn up to that live stream.
Oh man.
I made more money in the span of a 4-hour live stream talking about what I do and showing off my line than I made in basically my entire launch week. And I was like, oh, this is how I run my company now. Like
There's your marketing.
Exactly. So I then continued to do a live stream every single 3 days for I don't even know how long, but I went from
it was every 3 days that you did the live stream.
Sorry.
It was every 3 days that you did a live
Pretty
stream?
much like every 3 days I did a live stream, and I went from making $1,000 my first month to 7,000 my second, 10,000 my third, and just like building it up and up and up and up. And I just barely skirted bankruptcy. Like it was insane. And
That's
I finally dug my way out of the hole. So
you've broken even at this point. It's only been a couple of years, and you're good. You're okay now.
Exactly. I was like getting to finally an okay point until I started running out of spools, because I was one of the first people to bring cardboard spools into Canada, and I had a manufacturer in China who was making them for me at the time, and I had shipped basically 2,000 spools with my first container in, and then I was going to place another order for spools when I started running on my first 2,000 spools. And so I start running low on spools. So I call up China and I'm like, all right, send me more spools. I'm running low on my supply here. And they're like, all right, yeah, we can send you a container of spools. The shipping costs are going to be $17,000.
What? Just for the shipping?
And so it turns out that this happened to be when the container crisis happened.
Oh, bad timing again.
Yeah, terrible timing. And I was like, well, I don't even have $17,000 in my bank account right now. So I most definitely it's not possible.
Time to grab a pair of scissors and those old Amazon boxes and start cutting circles.
Exactly. So I start working on setting up. I actually run out of spools, and I go like 2 months with no way of actually making any money, because I can't even manufacture filament if I wanted to, because I just don't have any spools. But during these 2 months, I am like working like incredibly hard to try and figure out how on earth I'm going to set up manufacturing for spools locally here in Canada, not here in Canada, in North America, because I couldn't find anyone in Canada, so I had to go to the US. So I ended up getting manufacturing set up in the US. I got my own die cutter made, which is how we have our own little maple leaf cutout here.
Yeah.
I'm incredibly proud of this spool. However, it did cost me like $1 bazillion to set up manufacturing, and I lost so much money in the meantime. But this spool is incredible.
But now you make your spools in-house? Do you still do that?
We still make it in the US and we import it in. We don't make them in-house still, but we're still basically non-reliant on China now. I operate my entire company without importing anything from China, because I'm done with it.
Yeah.
I'm done with it. Too many problems. North American imports only.
Yeah.
But
that's amazing.
Yeah, trying to sort that out. And then there was a few other things that just went perfectly right that actually managed to save Canadian Filaments. I think one of them was, if we go back to October when I launched, was I love Halloween. So I was like, I'm launching my company in Halloween now. I should have a Halloween lineup. So I slapped Halloween into Google Images. I saw a pumpkin, a skeleton. So I was like, great, I'm going to release pumpkin orange. I saw skeleton, I'm like, great, I'll release bone colored PLA. And then I saw a pumpkin spice latte.
Yeah, your pumpkin spice color.
I thought that was hilarious. Like that was the funniest thing I'd ever thought of. So I was like, great. So I went to Starbucks.
Pumpkin spice everything, including pumpkin spice filament.
So I went and I purchased my first ever pumpkin spice latte. I poured it into a glass. I take a picture of it and I send it off to my color matching company. I'm like, hey, just like match this color. So I get the color in a little bit. Like, it was weird. I launched my Halloween collection like after Halloween, because it was just like a big mess. But I'm running my line with the new color I just got in from my master batch manufacturer. And at the exact same time, I was doing a lot of research and work at like in adding chemicals to my filament to increase properties. And part of that involved, this guy right there.
For some context here.
Part of that work actually involved sifting chemicals down to a certain particle size so they wouldn't clog a nozzle. And so I was like, wait a second.
Oh, yeah.
Why don't I just sift pumpkin spice down to a particle size that's not going to clog a nozzle, and then I actually throw pumpkin spice in my pumpkin spice PLA just for the memes. Like, it would be funny to be the world's first person to shove pumpkin spice into filament.
And so there's actual pumpkin spice in the filament?
There's real pumpkin spice in the filament.
So does it smell good when you print too?
That was where everything kind of blew up, is where I started sifting pumpkin spice in. And as it's extruding through my line, I realized my entire shop is starting to smell like pumpkin spice. And it turns out that when you run spices through a heated extruder, the spices off gas.
I'm sorry, did you just hear Sarah? Hey, she's in the background. I told her she walked across the house and poked her head in the office. She's like, "It has what in it?" And I was like, "We got to get some of this." And she looks at me and she says, "If we don't get some of this, I'm holding you personally accountable."
Exactly.
So you sounds like you're going to see an order come through here soon. Two orders.
It's going to be back in stock this week.
Fantastic. We'll talk.
But yeah, so it turns out when you run a spice through a heated extruder, it actually off-gases the scent of a spice. And so by complete fluke, because something that I did for the memes, I accidentally invented scented filaments.
So was this the first scented filament?
It was one of the first scented filaments. I think
it's the first pumpkin spice scented filament.
Yeah,
and
it was
it's
the
not
first
just
pumpkin spice filament ever.
There's like, you know how like when we were kids and there was like the scratch and sniff stuff that would like kind of vaguely smell like the thing it was supposed to smell like? And like the sniffy markers, yeah, that weren't quite, they weren't quite the smell or the flavor or whatever of the things, but this literally has pumpkin spice in the plastic. Now, does that? I'm assuming not, because you're still selling it. But has that affect? Did you have to do any troubleshooting with that affecting adhesion strength, or like did it affect the filament end product at all?
So if you're gonna have a problem with one of my filaments, it's gonna be the pumpkin spice one. But like still the rate, the failure ratio is, again, it's so low because of the work that I was doing was sifting the particles to be smaller. So every single particle of pumpkin spice is smaller than a 0.4 millimeter nozzle. Okay. So you're not going to have any like clogs. Really, it's going to have a little bit of resistance, but still, like it's still perfectly fine to run. I don't know if you can go on my website and look at the photo, but in the actual prints that I have on display, you can actually see it's like a marble effect. Those particles that's the real pumpkin spice.
You've got to be kidding me.
Oh, yeah.
That is so cool.
And
how long does the smell last? Like, is it just while it's printing?
Yeah, so that's like the one problem I haven't solved yet, is that it smells great when you open up the vacuum seal bag. It smells great when you're actually running the print, but then it just kind of like off-gases as it's printing, and then it's done.
Okay.
But as soon as I can figure out how to make it actually smell good, the print after it's done, I will be a very, very wealthy man.
Man,
but yeah,
that is ridiculously cool. I didn't know that.
That was.
I do remember. I think a couple of years ago, when I think I was a part of this wave. I don't remember ordering it, but I think I remember people posting about pumpkin spice filament. Like it still touched me somehow on social medias and stuff. And I don't know if we talked about it on the show or if it was something else. That may have been when I wasn't like on camera yet, and it was just Jim and Pooch. That might be why I don't remember it. But I remember seeing this, and like I didn't know that it smelled like it though.
Oh yeah,
that's a different story.
So that went insane. That was like my first ever taste of like virality. And it was just like a combination of the fact that I was going viral for my live streams on TikTok at the time. Plus, I released a viral product, and then it just like took off.
So in here
like
we have the pumpkin orange, and then do you still have the?
I still have the bone. It's there. It is. Yeah.
Color. Okay.
Yeah.
So were those the 3?
I think
you started with 5.
My original 5 were black, white, orange,
black,
bone. Where were they? I can actually check my
orange bone.
My Instagram right now.
I can also check your Instagram because I have it open.
Yeah, so there it is. It was granite, silver, white, natural, black, and then it was orange, bone, and the pumpkin spice.
Have you considered doing like especially like if you start talking more about this insanely fun and inspiring story, crazy story about how the company got started? Have you considered doing like a multi-pack of like the original colors? This is like, it's basically like the this, you've heard the story, here's the original 4, 5, 6 colors. I lost track when you were saying that.
I'm thinking about I was working on half-kilogram spools so that people would have a chance for actually testing out a bunch of my colors at a lot cheaper rate. But the problem was that instead of making a whole new die, because the dies are expensive, the die was like $3,600 USD for like just the punch that pumps out each side. So instead of paying another $3,600 for a smaller die, I just took this and I made it half the size thickness, so that it's just half the size of the full spool, and I was spooling it up. But literally, I designed that spool. I got like 5,000 of them manufactured. It hit my shop, and then Bamboo releases the X1 with the AMS unit, and everyone bought it, and it just completely destroyed the market for cardboard spools, especially chipboard spools that were not wide enough to even run on an edge roller. So I never even got around to releasing them, but they're still sitting in my shop. So I want to release them eventually, but it's kind of hard to release a product that doesn't work in the Bamboo AMS.
The Founders Pack.
Founders Pack.
Yeah, that's what we can call it. So have you experimented at all with other potential scents, but that include like the actual thing? Like, where was it? Somebody said, oh, I lost it. Oh yeah, Tech Jeeper said, as long as the bone filament doesn't have real bones in it. Like actual ground up bones. So like, have you considered any other, like putting the actual thing in the filaments?
I have considered it. Like, of course, like everyone now that they know that, like, oh, I make the pumpkin spice scented, they want everything scented.
Yeah.
But the problem is that the pumpkin spice was such a fluke that I don't even know if I could do it again.
Yeah.
It's like, does it work for more stuff? Like, what other spices can I put in a filament? Like, and like everyone wants one of the popular ones everyone wants is like maple syrup. But the question is,
I made that joke. I'm sorry.
Exactly.
I made that joke in the post today. I didn't realize that was something that people have been bugging you about.
Yeah.
I just thought it was
everyone
funny.
wants the maple syrup one, but the problem is that how do you get a maple? How do you do that?
Yeah.
How do you get an actual scent?
Even if you found a way to like powderize, I don't know what the word is, but like, make it a powder like the pumpkin spice is. Like, how do you keep it from getting potentially sticky or gross?
Yeah, exactly. And I've tried everything with essential oils too, and you try to mix in the essential oil with the pellets, but the problem is that the essential oils burn off during the extrusion. So it's so weird is that you need something that you can kind of powder into a filament that burns off at a certain temperature range, but still keeps everything intact and doesn't it's a nightmare.
Yeah,
basically. So the Canadian Filaments was the pumpkin spice was literally just such a fluke that I just don't know if I can replicate it again.
Mm-hmm.
And until I can actually afford a proper engineering team to look into it, because as I'm a university dropout, I don't know, I don't really know what I'm doing, just winging it.
So who do we know? I'm gonna start racking my brain. Who do we know that can help with the engineering part of this? Because I feel like first of all, I didn't know you were a one-man band.
Mm-hmm.
So especially with that in mind, knowing what you've been through to make this happen, and knowing like you're just a good person, like, for the record, people who are watching this currently, like, he's not putting on a face or a mask. Like, he's just genuinely this chill and easy to talk to. He's a good dude. I feel like we gotta do something, you know, if we could find somebody to help you with some of these things where you're like, yeah, I just need to find somebody to, because I don't have the time, or I don't know how, or whatever the case is. Like, we gotta, man, I want to see you blow up even more. Not literally. I don't want you to explode like spontaneously.
Easy.
Combust, but
With my luck, I might actually blow up.
on accident, and then it becomes a type of filament, another fluke, and yeah. Headlines: filament manufacturer in Canada explodes. Here's a link to his stuff.
Yeah, you know, I've been incredibly unlucky with starting my business, but also like incredibly fortunate. So it kind of like evens out. Like for one catastrophe to have, something incredible happens, like some miracle happens, and it like comes in and swoops in and like saves everything. For example, I wanted to buy a second line because currently I'm at about 80% capacity of what I can manufacture with my current line in-house. So I wanted to buy a second line, but I didn't want to go with this company from China anymore. I was over. And so I started looking at...
By the time you were done with all of it and you gutted it and replaced all the electronics, it probably would have been cheaper to, like, basically what you ordered was you ordered the like skins. You ordered the frames. Like...
Pretty much, you know?
Yeah.
It's a brand new machine now.
Yeah.
But it still can be better. So I became unrationally obsessed with the factory that Prusa has, manufacturing Prusament, because their factory is incredible. I was obsessed with it. It smells like fall. It's a good one. But
burning flesh scented filaments.
Hey, who did that? Polymaker. Polymaker made filament with powdered beef jerky.
Oh no!
And it exists. And apparently it just smells god awful now because it's just rotted meat.
I didn't know that. Oh, that's the worst. No thanks. Nope.
Yeah, because I think the only people who were doing that with like the powdered scents and whatnot was Polymaker, but I'm not sure who did it first. Don't quote me on that. But I honestly did not see any content of scented stuff from Polymaker until like a while after I had already accidentally came across the pumpkin spice. So
yeah, was it Polymaker or Protopasta?
Oh, Protopasta. Sorry, not Polymaker. Protopasta.
Okay. Liz mentioned Protopasta. Also, speaking of other filaments, Cookie Cat is here. I don't know if it's I don't know which one it is or both of them, but
what's up, Cookie Cat?
There's another one that I didn't think about. You know, what if I don't think maybe they have some scented stuff. I don't know if they do, but like cookie scented stuff, there's no benefit whatsoever for scented filaments other than they're just fun and they smell good while you're printing. Because once they're done printing, like you said, it doesn't smell anymore.
Yeah. So that's like the only problem with it. I wish I could figure that out. There's one company in Italy that has actually figured out how to manufacture like scented plastics. No idea how they do it. They won't answer my emails, so they won't work with me, which is very upsetting. But yeah, I'd like to do a dive deep on their patent just to try and figure out like how they actually pulled it off.
So
because I know it's possible.
Joel mentions here that everyone had scented PLA, and I remember this because they sent Jim some of their scented filaments. And that was when I was still editing for Jim, and I remember editing that video, and Jim just the whole video ended basically with like, "Yeah, I don't smell it. I don't know if it's supposed to. There's no smell."
Yeah, that was the big one. Is there are a couple of people who have tried to do scented filaments, but no one has really pulled it off yet.
And I bet you there's no, in their rose. I bet you there's no roses in there. Or any strawberries or mangoes.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, get with it. He has actual pumpkin spice in his, guys.
Exactly.
You're all sleeping. What's going on?
Can I also add that this is the worst filament in the entire world to manufacture, because I still by hand sift like kilograms of pumpkin spice. I'm still doing it by hand. And when you're just sifting that much and you're running like 18-hour line days on it, the pumpkin spice gets everywhere. It is in the air. It is in my eyes, the back of my throat. My clothing are soaked. It's in my hair. I just go home and like I shower. It's just pumpkin spice water just down the drain. It's terrible. It's a blessing and also a curse, because I love the fact that it kept my entire business afloat for a couple months. Every single October, August, September, October are my biggest months, because I just sell so many kilograms of this that it pays my rent, it pays all of my bills, just this one spool right here. But God, is it the worst stuff in the world?
And you're selling it for almost, just about the same price as some of your other filaments too.
Yeah.
And I'm actually going to raise the price. I'm guessing you don't have to stand there and like hand sift things that end up in every crack and crevice and make you have a hard time sleeping at night for any of these other ones,
Oh, exactly. So I'm gonna actually raise the price. I'm gonna release like a couple. I'm gonna do exactly. I'm gonna do like one small run of it, and then as soon as I run out of the small run and I start doing my big productions as I get closer to September, October, I'm gonna actually raise the price to I think $33 Canadian a spool. Because now that it's taken off and I'm a more reputable company, I feel like I got to get an extra $4 out of that.
So a couple people in the comments too. Liz is mentioning the scented strawberry shortcake toys. Those had a scent to them, and then and obviously those weren't 3D printed at the time. So, but Karen specifically says there's a bowling company that makes bowling balls called Storm Bowling that have scented bowling balls.
Interesting.
I don't think you're going to be able to get in contact with whoever made the strawberry shortcake toys from the 1990s, but might be worth looking into this Storm Bowling company and see if you can talk to somebody there about how they do it.
Yeah, because there's also a big difference between I think injection molding parts, because almost every single thing made out of plastic right now is injection molded.
Yeah. And
the big difference between injection molded and then extrusion and pulled into a string, and it's I don't know if the two processes can even collaborate together.
Yeah.
And there's just there's a lot involved. However, I believe it was I think it was Dave. 3D Printing Nerd's producer.
Oh yeah, David Tobin.
Yeah, David Tobin. He gave me, I think, closest to the best idea of how to make a scented filament.
Okay.
And I really like his idea.
Okay.
So how?
Hang on? Do you want to say this out loud on a public stream, or you want to keep this to yourself?
That's a good point. You know what? Yeah. I don't think anyone's going to make it.
That's fair. I don't think I doubt other people are going to.
No one's here is going to put the amount of work that it would actually take to actually maybe possibly pull this off. It's not even a guarantee. It's literally just a crackpot idea. This might work, but it would cost hundreds of thousands of dollars to even test.
Okay.
So co-extrusion. You've seen co-extrusion filament, where one side of the filament is one color, one side of the filament is the other color.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a secondary.
Some triple extrusion stuff too.
Yeah. So So basically, the way that works is that you have two
Hang on.
Cookie Cat's writing it down. But basically, the way that this works is you have two extruders that basically enter two single screw extruders that enter a single mold, and then the mold, it gets pulled out of the mold before they can actually really combine together.
Okay.
And so you can add as many extruders you want around that to have the tri filament and the fourplex filament, or the half and half filament. Or there's another one that you can do, which is one filament on the outside, one filament on the inside, which is I'm not going to describe that again with my hands.
Did you see Stefan's video where he was making filament by hand that had a cross section of his logo on the inside? Yeah. So kind of that's a way to do it without extruders. But
The way that you can actually accomplish that, but in just with circles in an actual extrusion setup. And the hypothesis, if I messed that word up, is that you could actually coat the inside, the pellets that go on the inside of the filament with an actual essential oil. And because when you run it through, and since you're actually extruding it with a protected filament around it, you might actually be able to save the scent on the scent in the middle of the filament, and it won't get burned off.
See, I'd be concerned about when filament gets wet and you haven't dehydrated it and it just kind of gets bubbly and stuff. Because the hot end is like burning the gases and creating bubbles and stuff. I'd be concerned about that happening.
You could be like definitely like there are so many things that go wrong, but then on the outside, you ever seen like lightweight PLA?
No. I haven't used it. I've seen it, but I haven't used it. Like,
so basically, it like the hotter you run it, the more it kind of like expands, and when you expand it, it kind of creates like a bubbly kind of membrane on it.
Okay,
and
it's almost like a foam.
Yeah, it kind of foams up, and you do that with literally baking powder. I believe it's like baking powder. Yeah, and because when you heat up baking powder, there's like a reaction. It creates carbon dioxide. It makes the whole thing kind of foam up. But if you did that on the outside and you had oils protected on the inside, you could actually create almost like a diffuser filament that when you run it through your nozzle, the outside kind of becomes like permeable, like foams up, which allows the scent from the oils on the inside to expand outwards and pass through the outer layer of the part to off gas the scent of your material.
Are you going to try this? Are you actually going to try this?
No, it's never been done. It's literally never been done, but that's how
the cool thing, that's how the innovative products happen, though.
Yeah,
like it's never been done, and it could blow something up, but let's give it a shot.
Exactly, like that's kind of like the crackpot idea of how it was done, but the problem is that finding a whole new extruder
filament. How about that?
Yeah, just like everything. Like just think about all the stuff you can powder and put into filament, but like, would it actually off gas? Would it just burn? Like, what would it do?
We've had multiple people mention Oreos, and the Oreos are a common theme on the show here. So if you're ever, I know you already have a marble filament, but if you're ever looking at doing like an off-white marble and calling it cookies and cream, let's talk about how we might be able to do some sort of collaboration with Hot Mix. Because that would be awesome.
But it's just like what when burned run through an extruder off gases the scent of a cookie.
Yeah,
that's non-perishable.
No, I'm saying even if it's not, I'm not saying scented. I'm just saying in general. If there's a variant at some point. But
I thought about doing ground up chili flakes, but that just sounds like it would be a pepper spray filament in your room. Your whole room would just be like peppers, aerated peppers. It would be terrible.
Everybody's concerned about like toxic fumes coming off of their prints. When you're putting ABS and stuff. Not, ugh.
But so many ideas, so many fun things and ways to go.
So what do you have? So have you started that extra line, that second line that you wanted to start? Or are you in the process?
Yeah. I was in the middle of that story before we got
I want to hear it.
But basically, what happened was I wanted a new line, but I didn't want to buy the one from China. And there are really not that many people who manufacture filament for filament manufacturing because it's such a niche business. But when I saw Prusa's shop tour of how they were manufacturing Prusa, I realized that was a new line that I had never seen before. And I was like, that one, I need to get my hands on that machine now. So I watched that video like frame by frame until I finally got like somewhat of like a company name. I tracked it down to this engineering company in Thailand. And I start spamming them with emails, being like, give me this. Like, please sell me one of these lines. And they're not responding back to me. And I'm like, I need them to respond to me. So I go on Fiverr, that website where you can pay like people in other countries $5 to do stuff for you.
Yeah.
I found someone in Thailand. I paid the guy $5 to go knock on their door with my email on a piece of paper.
Literally knock on the door?
Oh yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my God, dude.
So
You
they knock on
are
the door, and all of a sudden I get an
resourceful.
email from them, and they're like, "What do you want?" And I'm like, "Sell me one of your lines. Like, I want this line." And they're like, "Okay." So they quoted out for me, and they quoted me like $250,000, and I was like, "Oh, uh-oh."
Well, I mean, yeah, you
I,
kind of set yourself up for that one at that
yeah, I
point.
was like,
If
I
somebody
don't
was
have
bugging me that
$250,000.
much about something, I'd be like, all right, you clearly want this, so here's a high price.
Yeah. Considering the fact that this machine, my original one, cost me $70,000, but that also came with a mixer, a vacuum sealer, and 2,000 spools.
Right, and this was just the machine.
Yeah, and this was like just the machine. It was going to cost me like $250,000. So I like shelved it for a little bit, but I did all of these like fundraising tours where I was like pitching my company in front of like millionaires and trying to convince someone to give me like $250,000. And
Yeah.
it was like a whole 2-year circle I was doing, you know?
So like,
trying to figure out where
so there's the Shark
$250,000.
Tank, right? And then there's Dragon's Den. Do you
Yeah.
guys have like the Moose Den or the Moose Tank?
Dragon's Den is the Canadian version.
What?
Dragon's Den is the Canadian version.
That is the Canadian version?
That is. We're
I
the
didn't
original.
realize that.
Shark Tank stole it from us.
Oh, it was the original. Okay.
It was
okay.
the original. But yeah, so I did that for 2 years, and it was just no luck. I couldn't come up with it until one day at like 9 p.m. at night, I get an email. I'm like, who's emailing me at 9 p.m.? I take a look, and it's one of my friends. He goes, you need to take a look at this. I click on it, and it was a link to an auction site. And what do you know? That machine at auction in North Dakota.
What?
Yeah. And
It's a
so
long drive, and you could
immediately,
literally drive there to pick it up.
exactly, we did.
You
And so immediately I'm like, how, like, this is like the most perfect thing that's ever happened. And so I bid on it, and I ended up winning $250,000 worth of equipment for $30,000.
Oh man.
And so I hopped in a truck.
Awesome.
We drove all the way to North Dakota. We threw it in the truck, and we drove it all the way back here.
Your entire, like, from start to finish and you're not even finished, but your entire journey of Canadian Filaments is like it's all timing, you know, a really, really bad timing, then really good timing, and then really unfortunate thing, and then really fortunate thing. It's like you've been on a roller coaster, dude.
Oh yeah. That's why I said that it's kind of insane that Canadian Filaments like even still exists.
Brian Bynes said
how many things have gone wrong.
Was it 3D
yes,
Fuel?
It was 3D Fuel's machine. So I have one of 3D Fuel's their best line. 3D Fuel's best line is sitting inside of my shop right now.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So that's the one I managed snagging.
Tech Jeeper, you hit the nose on its head, or you hit the nail on its nose. Whatever the phrase is. Alex has some good freaking karma. He is a legit good dude, and that's why even when things go weird, they go better for this guy. I am so impressed.
There is some stuff it even gets even more crazier. I'm not even joking. Like, there's a whole nother layer, but like I wish I could talk about that, but there's stuff I can't even talk about.
There's another layer.
Yeah. But Brian, like there are some issues that came across that like almost like put me under even deeper than all the other problems I can't even talk about, because there's still like ongoing issues with that. Yeah, I know it's just it's insane, but I'm real happy that I still get to wake up and do something that I love every single day, and that's mostly thanks to all of the cool people who bring me onto their show and let me rep the brand.
I am so thankful that you wanted to come tell this story, because not only is it cool that you haven't really told the story in its full before and you decided to do it with me here, but also just so like I've talked about it a little bit, but over the last 3 or 4 months or so, I've been just kind of trying to make things work on my own. I had a job that was good. I left that job for a really good offer, but it ended up being the worst people I've ever worked for in my entire life, and I hope they go out of business. But it's so bad that I jumped off of that job without having anything else lined up. And that first week that I was looking for a new job was when some jobs started lining up with the video production company here in Little Rock, and jobs started lining up with Sam and doing the traveling and doing some more video stuff with him. And I started making more. And you know, as the in between stuff, making more and printing more and like having handmade things and going to local shows and Comic-Cons and stuff. And I just thought, you know what? And a big part of this was Sarah being supportive too. I was like, you know what? Let's just see what can happen. And it's been tough. You know, there have been some really, really hard, you know, times over the last few months, especially this last month. I love you too. But hearing your story, just because I've had those moments, you know, like everybody does when they're trying to start their own thing, I'm sure, where I'm like, am I doing something stupid? Should I have just gotten another job? Should I be looking for another job?
Yeah, I still think
it feels
that's
so good not having a boss, you know. It feels so, there's so much pride and like I don't want to let go of that. So hearing you tell this story and how insanely high it was and how insanely low it was and how that flip-flopped and how you were up and down and had all these crazy things happen, like I'm glad that you came here and told this story, because I'm feeling super inspired and excited right now.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you for creating a platform that I can come on in and just straight up yap for an entire hour.
That's what we're here for. We're here because especially Jim is a yapper, and we like bringing hot yappers on. That's our new hot yappers. Huh? I did make it weird. That's what I do. Hot yaps. There we go. Brian. He's already given us a hashtag. Okay, so we have a few hot makes. We don't have a whole lot this week because I wanted to give plenty of time to chat. Would you like to look through them with me before we call this a wrap?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, and others, hot makes. So close. I was so close to making things seamless, even though I'm distracted by being more active on the show because Jim isn't here. I was so close, and I clicked the wrong bumper. Clicked the wrong one. But we're good. We're good. So the first one we have here, Vicky posted this. Sorry, the cat's going nuts. And I really appreciated this because I was not aware of this person. Says, hey, 3D printing community, we have a person put on your radar. Sarah from Labcraft Studio is combining 3D printing with other crafting techniques like resin, wax stamping, and sublimation. So this person is making pins, enamel pins. Where'd they go? Check these out. 3D printed frames.
Oh,
Sarah and I love enamel pins. So when I saw this, my brain immediately started like, okay, I could make this, I could make that. And they look so good. I'm assuming they're lighter weight, you know?
So wait, are they printing the entire thing, or are they printing the shell and then putting like the soft enamel in themselves?
I mean, I think there's videos on their socials. Hang on, let's do a deep dive here. Let's see what we can find. I bet you Instagram or TikTok is probably good. Nope. That was awesome. Let's see. I bet you there's a process video. Stickers, Sailor Moon. There's got to be a video somewhere. I don't know. Yeah. Here we go. No sound. So I don't know. I assumed it was 3D printed. Yeah, 3D. Yeah, enamel pins that I 3D printed. Yeah, you can kind of see the layer lines there.
Okay, and then she puts the UV resin over top to kind of give it the shine. Okay, very nice.
Okay, so it's not filled with colored resin or colored enamel like I thought it was. It's got the colors in the print
Yeah.
and then
So
covered with resin.
it's the UV resin. Okay. Very nice.
I have ideas. I want to make things. I want to try this out. This is awesome. So yeah, thank you very, very much, Vicky, for posting this because it just blew my mind. I love seeing new things on the show, and that is usually only because 3D printing was resin on top. Look, people in the chat have been Karen has been helping me out, and I wasn't even paying attention to the chat. I'm over here like, oh, what's that? And just not listening. Very cool. Thank you, Vicky. Okay. Allie, back to making more broken knee vases. If this is your first time coming across porcelain knee vase from a CT scan of their own bones. That's cool. So this person, okay, no, that's somebody else who has it. This person looks like they have a stick figure in their knee. That is so cool. I appreciate that so far the two things. I mean, I like 3D printing, but these first two things are incorporating things that aren't 3D printing. Very, very.
How is it made out of porcelain?
I don't know. I'll have to ask them. Porcelain knee vase from a CT scan.
Okay, so they created a mold out of.
Yep.
Okay, all right, I see.
I want to see the process. Show me the process. Let me see how it does. How do you do the thing? Okay, this is me.
Wow, you went really big on the thingery one.
My tattoo artist
in the comments. Atomic Filament provides all the filaments for a thing for each shop. So that's
I know that's why I thought it was perfect to put them right below Atomic.
Oh yeah, I forgot you had their tattoo too. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, because we were standing there, we were chatting with Frank, and I was like, oh yeah, I used to work with Atomic. They were in the same building that CMC was in, and for a little while I was kind of doing a part-time, working on his line too. When Mike owned the company. But yeah. Llama.
What did Frank say about the tattoo?
Sorry?
What did Frank say about the tattoo?
Oh, he was. Oh, yeah. That's what I was getting at. Yeah. It's massive because of the little letters. She was like, I kind of want to make it bigger so the little letters are easier, like because they're really tight spacing and everything. And I was like, how big are you willing to make it in the price that you quoted me? Like, how big do you feel like it needs to? And she kind of put a stencil on my arm, and I was like, yeah, screw it, let's go. I mean, my arms are going to continue to be filled up with 3D printer and filament companies, so it's not going to be as big looking as much when I have more. So
that's actually how we met your tattoos.
The first time?
Yeah, because I remember we were in Denver, and I walked past you, and I saw your See Me CNC tattoo, and because that's kind of like a rare company. Like they're one of the old, like the beginner ones,
one of the grandfathers. Like I remember when we were
OGs,
there, when Creality started making printers that were more affordable and shipped from China, they were a direct competitor with us.
Yeah. Because I saw that and I was like, no way, do you work with See Me CNC? And you turned around and you just started showing me your arms, and I was like, oh, and I was very confused of why you had like 6 different 3D printing companies tattooed on you at the show, and I was like, this guy, I need to know more about this guy.
So you and I were both experimenting. I don't have mine on me, but I do have yours here. We bonded over this at the event too. We were experimenting with 3D printed business cards. Yeah, and here's yours, which is no, that's the right way forward.
Yeah.
And this is all printed with a. Did you use a 0.2 nozzle?
Yeah, 0.2. You got to go with the 0.2.
0.2. It's about credit card thickness, which is just, it has a super cool feel. Obviously, the textured bed side has a cool texture to it, but then because of the ironing, the top has a really cool texture to it. And I was messing around with that myself too. I've got some hot mix cards that I've given to people at shows, and I've got a couple that I've made for the video production company that I have too, or that Pete and I run as well. I saw you did that, and you are the only other person I've seen that has done that in that way with the same nozzle size, the same kind of concept. So what I want to do is I want to print some of those, but do Zach Friedman beat me to the punch because his previous video about his maker chips, like the poker chips, he snuck NFC tag in his maker chips, right?
Oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
For the last month or so, maybe a little bit more because I've been busy, I've been working with a local media company who their theme is like kind of gothic Roman, black, white, gold, that kind of stuff. They wanted a Marcus Aurelius, I don't know how to say it, but it's like a Roman emperor coin, like one of the old hand stamped looking coins, but it's a coin kind of matching their branding that had an NFC tag in it. And the only way that he and I could think of was 3D printing. That's why he reached out to me. And I was already working on a little coin thing that had an NFC tag in it. And I was looking forward to showing that off. And then Zach is like, check this out. And I'm like, all right, I'll give it to you.
Can I point out one thing about, we're talking about Zach from Void Star Labs, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So Zach has my pumpkin spice filament.
He has it?
He has it. He put in an order for it with his own volition. He put in an order.
That's
he
fantastic.
spent his own money. Spent his own money. He has it. I think I sent him a good thank you note because I was a big fan of his content too.
Yeah.
He hasn't made a video on it yet, but I'm very excited for when he adds that to his crazy filament video.
Fantastic. Yes.
I'm actually
awesome.
hyped to see it.
I'll be watching that video and I'll be like, I know that guy.
Yeah, because he was the one. He has one of the samples of the beef jerky filament, the one that smells like rotting flesh because it literally is rotting. He has all of the crazy stuff, and so I was honored when I saw his order come in on my Shopify.
So what I was getting at with the tattoos thing was I kept thinking that it would be funny to have some blank business cards, just 3.5 by 2 business cards with nothing printed on them because I am the business card. But then I thought, well, what if I 3D printed the business cards and they're literally just plain white, but I put the NFC tag in them. So it still operates as a business card, but the joke still happens and I'm not just literally throwing paper away. Anyway. That was a long roundabout way. So Llama shared this with us. Oh, fantastic. There's an adult human in the back of it. I love it. That's a cool idea. I feel like that would get tiring. Well, unless maybe you have like a counterweight in the back, kind of like a camera rig, where it's a lot of pressure on your shoulders, but like if you have like one of those camera like Steadicam rigs that
it looks like there's enough room at the back to have a counterweight for sure.
Yeah, oh yeah, plenty. And I love that there's a stand too to help,
so you take a break.
yeah. Pulling the stand up. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that, Llama. Very cool. All right. And what do we have here? Karen posted this. Yeah. Oh, this is another thing that blew my mind.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So they're hiding a battery in that print, or is there just copper wire that they're transmitting the energy to?
I don't know. It's getting there.
Making like blinking casino chips?
Do what?
Are they like making like casino chips or?
No, it's a I'm assuming it's going to be a maker chip.
Okay.
like the maker chips that everybody's making.
Yeah.
But how? Hang on. I don't have the audio turned on the stream, but hang on.
Oh, you got to give us more than 12 seconds. Come on.
I don't hear like an audible click. It looks like the movement. Doesn't it look like he's kind of pressing on it?
Yeah. So maybe are they hiding a coin cell on the back half, or?
I'm guessing. Well, maybe there's something hidden on the back half, but if there's not, I'm guessing it's one of those really skinny, like watch batteries.
Yeah. Okay.
And I bet you there's like the battery is sitting on a contact, and then there's a gap, and then the other contact is above it. So the flex of the filament creates kind of like a button.
What I really like is the fact that they're obviously doing the inside of that coin is actually transparent filament that bleeds out to the edges and then hits the edges. And because you can see that the LEDs are actually closer to the middle of it, and so there has to be the center layer has to be like a clear filament, so that that's what's causing it to shine out at the ends there. I like that.
I like that a lot too. Yeah, and I love that because of the thin layers above it, you can still see the lights through it too. So hang on. Oh, no, okay. This was Shenanigans 3D posted this, but I guess it was Tech Jeepers design. Tech Jeepers here in the chat. It has a circuit board inside. They CNC'd the board for the inside of it. Okay. Then surface mounted LEDs, and there's a coin cell battery inside. Okay, so we were on the right track. That is so cool.
CNCing out 3D prints is not an easy thing to do because it just kind of melts.
Well, is it that, or did he? Yeah, no, he said he CNC'd the board.
Oh, the board for the inside of it. Okay.
Okay. So 2 questions now. One, Tech Jeeper, are you going to Tech Jeeper and Shenanigans? Are you? Is this going to be a thing? Are you going to offer the like boards for people to purchase so that they can make shiny chips as well? Can we do this? Is this a thing? We'll find out on the next episode of Ember Prototypes Hot Makes. So Ember Prototypes posted this earlier today. No, yesterday. August 1st. Says July 1st, but it's August 1st. August 1st, they are retiring the creator plates. I don't know why. I'm wondering why. I'm wondering if it's a good thing or if it's they just didn't sell. Probably, especially the Hot Mix one. Probably did not sell. I do appreciate the shout out though. Very, very cool that we're still on your mind. So I guess we won't be seeing a Canadian Filaments plate.
That would have been cool. Can I do a shout out to Jan, who I believe is watching the show right now because she just placed an order for the bone and the copper that I have on my website. So,
Jan,
appreciate it, Jan. I'm assuming that a random order to the U.S. First time order to the U.S. is someone who is watching the show right now. So
could be.
Oh, one more thing I want to point out. Every single time I get an order to the U.S., I actually do ship a Canadian candy bar in that order because I don't think the U.S. has good candy.
Oh, so okay. If
you order from the U.S., it does come with a Canadian candy bar.
So what's so special about a Canadian candy bar?
Because you guys are like, Hershey's owns you guys in the U.S., and so you have like 4 candy bars to choose for. But in Canada, we have like 60.
It's all the same chocolate.
Yeah, it's all the same. But like in Canada, we have like a bunch of stuff that you guys have never seen before. So I try to send one of those over.
Okay. Noted. We will see. Yeah, we were talking. Oh, look at that. There we go. I thought you said Jen.
Zen? Yeah, Jen's the name I got here.
Oh, well, sorry, Zen. People know that you're Jen now. That's cool. That's awesome. That made sense, too, because you're like, not only is it a random order, but it's also one of the colors we were just talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic.
One of the OGs, the bone.
Oh, yeah. All right. We also have hot makes, since Jim sort of did something similar before. Another llama submission. We have some acrylic paint. This is crazy. I love this. Yeah, you're right. Jim kind of did something like this before when we had Make Anything, Devin, on the show. And Devin decided to go crazy and mix beer in with his acrylic paint to see what would happen. And also he had a microphone issue where his voice was squeaky like a chipmunk the entire episode. And I didn't catch it because I don't talk to him very often. And I hadn't watched one of his videos in a while. And we're on the show and I'm in the background just because it was before I started kind of being more active on the show. And I'm just like, man, I didn't realize his voice was so high pitched. I don't remember that. And then after the show was over, the whole like hour some odd show, he makes a post or comments or send us a message or something. And he's just like, why didn't anybody tell me there was an issue with my microphone? I sound like a chipmunk. I felt so bad. I should have said something, but very cool. Another thank you for sharing. And today's the llama episode. We need a llama scented filament now. What do we have here?
Oh, with the string. Yeah,
I've seen things like this before. That's cool. I love it. It's also like it makes me feel gross too. Like it kind of like I know it's paint, but there's something about the rope covered in paint that gives me like earthworm vibes. And like it's just leaving like schmutz behind. It's very cool, but the more I watch it, the more uncomfortable I get. So let's move on. We also have printed in Polymaker new Panchroma Gradient Translucent Rainbow.
I cannot wait to make gradient filaments. So my current line, yeah, because my current line right now, the barrel, like the extruder is too long. Like it's a really long extruder. It's great for mixing, but not great when you want to make gradients, because you can add in color after color after color, but you're not going to get like hard stops between them. You're going to kind of get a lot of mixing in there. So if you do that, you're just going to get like a gross brown or black kind of ish filament.
Yeah.
But the new line is a much shorter barrel. And so what I'm hoping here is that once I finally have that running, I'll actually be able to get harsher. I'll be able to transition between colors like that a lot harsher without having a lot of mixing, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm very excited. That's one of the first things I'm going to test once the new line is up and running, which is hopefully August.
Okay.
I'm in the middle of
that's next month.
Yeah. I'm in the middle of painting it right now because I'm obsessed with everything in my shop being of one aesthetic, and for some reason all industrial machines come in this ugly safety yellow, and it needs to be corrected.
So two things that I want to get to real quick, because I've been not paying attention to chat like I should. It's hard to do that when there's only one of us back here. Where did it go? I found something. It was Ember Prototypes saying that every several months they're planning on cycling them through. So I'm assuming talking about just making room for the next ones. Okay. So all the current creator plates are being phased out so that the more creator plates are going to be made. That makes sense. That's cool. Also, Liz says Americans love coffee crisp. Is that something you guys? Does that sound familiar? Yeah. Big Turk, all sorts, and fuzzy slices.
Yeah.
Never.
Coffee crisp is a big one. I send a lot of coffee crisp bars down to the US. That's like the number one requested.
I have never heard of any of these.
Exactly, because you guys don't have good candy.
Apparently not.
I look like a lunatic every week when it comes, because almost all the filament I ship down to the US is just pumpkin spice. I once shipped pumpkin. I once shipped 4 kilograms of pumpkin spice to the U.S. military base in South Korea. Like it has been like all over the place, and I always send the candy with it. But they love the coffee crisps whenever I send the coffee crisp out.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Also, Pez Liz says, and bits and bytes. No, we don't have coffee crisp. I've never heard of this. I love coffee though, and I love crispy stuff. So, yeah. Okay, so now we have Cause. Finally got around to printing this out. It is a Fallout. I don't know what it's called, but it's from Fallout. And clicking the picture doesn't make it any bigger. So this is as big as it gets.
I recognize it.
What's it called?
I could not tell you what it's called, but I have like 130 hours of Fallout 4, so I'm very familiar with it. I wish I knew the name of it, but
it's one of those. It has that very recognizable. Like, I'm assuming this gets painted silver when it's done.
Yeah, it's like a green and silver gun. The pink is throwing me off, but no, that's an awesome print.
Awesome, very awesome, and if it goes for a, I don't know if this is just to be a prop or if it's supposed to be part of an overall costume. Maybe this person is going to be cosplaying. Huh? Shame on you. Sarah's across the house. She said, "Shame on you." Yeah, I know. That was Hot Makes for this week. That's what we got. Oh wait, I have a button. That was Hot Makes. All right, man, I'm tired. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good. I really appreciate you having me on. It was a great show.
So one more time, I don't feel like any more explaining is needed after everything, but as is typically custom on Hot Makes, one more time. Who are you? What do you do? And where can people find you?
For sure. My name is Alex. I am the owner of CanadianFilaments.ca. You can find me everywhere at Canadian Filaments. Definitely give me a follow over on Instagram and TikTok, which are my most where I mostly frequent.
And I noticed you don't have a Twitter account, do you?
I don't have a Twitter.
Okay. Is that due to a lack of time or just
I don't even have I've never even had a personal Twitter.
That's fair. That's fair.
So
all right. Well, I'm ready to call it quits for the night, if I'm honest. I'm worn out. So thank you very much for giving us your super inspiring story. I don't remember if you were going to tell me when we were in person, or if I told you to wait for the show, or if we just didn't have time. I think we just didn't have time. But
we just didn't have time. It was a busy week. It was a real busy week.
Even when we were driving, even when you gave us a lift, it was just kind of, we had everything else to talk about.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, seriously, thank you so much for joining. And I think I can speak for most of the people who have been watching and are in the chat. Everybody's been saying really nice things, and everybody likes you. So there's that. Good luck getting out of your front door with how big your head is growing from all of this ego. You don't really have an ego. But anyway, thanks everybody for joining us. And Alex, thank you. Big time.
Thank you very much for having me on. Thank you, everybody.
If you hang out for just a second without closing your browser, we can chat a little bit for a few seconds after this.
I'll stick around.
All right. Later, guys.